What's up YouTube? My name is Turtle, and welcome to Fantendo Roast, where, we roast Fantendo pages. It's literally in the title. Today we're going to be talking about a topic near and dear to my heart, or at least near to my TV and dear to my wallet. Amiibo. I swear I didn't make this video just to show off my collection. Ever since Amiibo were announced at E3 2014, I've wanted Nintendo to make a game that pulls together all the different Amiibo, be it a beat-em-up sort of thing like Skylanders, or perhaps an RPG where each Amiibo is one of your party members. I just wanted something cool that was going to pull together every single Amiibo into the same game. I have my own ideas about how they could do something like that, but we're not here to talk about my ideas. We're here to look at what Fantendo's come up with. Unlike the last two videos where I talked about one or two pages, this time I'll be looking at a whole bunch of different ones, because not a one of these pages has enough content to sustain an entire episode. Not a one of them. So how about we start the right way, with Amiibo chess. Now, I'll say this once, maybe, and then you guys can just assume I've said it for pretty much every game here. Amiibo is not supposed to be capitalized. No matter where it's written, Amiibo is always written in lowercase. Do not capitalize the A. All except one of these pages already failed on that front. But anyway, Amiibo chess. Apparently this dude made this as the first game in his 25 Days of Christmas thingo. Meaning it was probably made in a day. Don't expect anything good. Then again, I doubt you were really expecting any sort of quality from a game called Amiibo Chess. Before he lists the different chessboards you can play on, he has this to say. This is the Mario Bros board. I worked all November making these boards. If you don't like it, get off the page. But if you like it, hover, go down. All of November. This is what he took all of November to make. Not to mention, he's addressing the reader directly. No. This is a wiki page, not a personal blog. I know this is your idea, but it's a page about your idea. Not a spot for you to talk to people about that idea. Wikis are supposed to use a sort of encyclopedia style, or something. Also, hover go down? How do you hover go down? Do you have to gain the ability to levitate and then hover slightly closer to the ground? But anyway, what boards does he have? Now, none of these are actually labeled, so I'm having to hover my mouse over the image in order to see the file name and identify it that way. Maybe that's what he meant by hover go down. There's the Mario Bros board you saw before. I guess you unlock that by scanning a Mario Amiibo or something? I don't know. He never actually says how Amiibo are involved in this game. There's the Mario Special Edition board, which is just a bunch of Marios and a bunch of Luigis. The ZELDA board? Tingle Amiibo? Yeah, I'd probably buy that. The Kirby board. Once again, remember it took him a month to make all of these. Star Fox. Why are two of the same piece sometimes different? Like you've got Slippy, and you've got Peppy, but they're both just white bishops. Why do they look different? It's only on some boards though. See, the Pokemon board, it doesn't have this problem. Although I would have used Rattata or something as one of the pawns instead of balls. The Kid Icarus board has a lot wrong with it. It took you a month to make all of these, and yet you couldn't make it so each side had the correct number of pawns. It's not even like this was supposed to be special or something and use double-sized pawns, because the wide side has 5 pit pawns, which I don't even understand how you can fit 5 double-sized pawns on a chessboard. But the black side only has 4 mirror pawns. It's just not very good. Fire Emblem, the pawns are swords, that is all. The fighter board. So our fighters are Samus, Little Mac, Shulk, Cloud, and Ryu. I have no idea why they specifically are classed as fighters, but that's the least of this board's problems. He couldn't even find an image with a clear background. Look at those white edges. And both sides have pawns that look exactly the same as each other. How are you supposed to tell the pawns apart after they've moved a bit? Then there's the other board, aka an excuse to use up the rest of the Smash Bros characters. Black uses the same pawns as the fighter board, and white for some reason uses 3 different kinds of pawns. The Sonic board, whatever it's Sonic, and the Master board. I'm sorry, unless you add a paragraph to your page explaining the rules, I refuse to accept that this is chess. Because this isn't chess, this is just a bunch of images on a checkered background. And that's it for the page. No explanation of how the amiibo work with the game, no explanation of how to unlock each board, no special rules for the Kid Icarus board and the Master board, nothing. I guess he used all of his time making these masterful images. I mean, it did take him an entire month after all. Jeez, if this was day one of his 25 Fantendo games at Christmas, I'd hate to see what some of the others are. At the very least, it seems the Fantendo community agrees with me on this one. Hey. Moving right along, we have Amiibo Versus, a page for a fictional TV series rather than a game, which writes Amiibo correctly once, and then capitalizes it every other time. You've got Amiibo vs Skylanders, Amiibo vs Disney Infinity, and Amiibo vs LEGO Dimensions. Skylanders has the characters in a fight against evil, and will apparently air on the same channel as Skylanders Academy, which is a real cartoon being made, by the way. Disney Infinity has no plot, and just has the characters screwing around in the toy box, so I suppose it's just like the game, really. That's on Disney XD, a channel whose name I will forever see as a really dumb emoticon that I used when I was young and naive. Lastly, LEGO Dimensions apparently also has no plot, and they're just exploring the LEGO world as LEGO minifigures, and that one has no channel. Have you noticed anything? Perhaps the fact that these have nothing to do with Amiibo. It's just Nintendo characters, and characters from other franchises that have NFC figures. The Amiibo aspect doesn't come into it at all. Or at least if it does, you haven't mentioned it. That's the end of the page already. That's literally it. I agree with Agent Muffin over here. What? Now for the previous two pages I found them just by idly searching through Fantendo. One day I searched Amiibo and found Amiibo Chess. Since then someone's added a bunch of pages for actual Amiibo, so the only thing I could really find was Amiibo Versus. From there I went to the category Amiibo compatible games, and that's where I found everything else in this video, starting with Amiibo Journey. This is a Toys to Life game, the phrase used to describe Amiibo, Skylanders, Disney Infinity, etc. It looks promising. It even has box art and everything. Premise, to be added. Gameplay, to be added. Oh. This is one of those games. One with an incredibly vague idea where they make the page before they've fully fleshed out what the game should be like. Stages, also to be added. Oh look, the box art has a caption. The rather lazily designed box art for the game featuring the 3 Amiibo in the game's starter pack. This dude's writing the jokes for me. I was just going to ignore the plainness of the box art because he actually took the time and effort to make box art in the first place. But yeah, it is pretty plain. Now, the only other thing we can really talk about with this page, the playable characters, which is summed up in one paragraph. Scan a character to play as them, and if you want to switch, scan another character. It's a basic Toys to Life shenanigan. The starter pack comes with the ones on the box. I would question why Isabelle was there, but I suppose he wanted to include one character from each of Nintendo's larger Amiibo collections. Then there's the Amiibo Owners Pack, which doesn't come with Amiibo. In other words, it's not a pack, it's just the game. And for a full list of compatible Amiibo, see a page that doesn't exist. This showed promise. He was clearly willing to put in some effort, but then he let all that potential go to waste. Why? Amiibo Test. This one has a logo at least. All this Amiibo talk has made me realize that the Amiibo logo uses the same font that I use in my videos. Fun times. This one's a little software title for the Wii U and new 3DS. What it does. I feel like that should probably be something more like a gameplay or functionality, or at the very least it should be using title case. This software gives you a trophy based on the character you scan, and you unlock a minigame based on the character. Completing the minigame unlocks a little trailer based on the character, and it apparently allows you to order Amiibo directly through the app. Sounds promising. Sounds like it could be like Amiibo Tap, but better. Oh, this was supposed to be a predecessor to Amiibo Tap. Okay then. There's also crossover mode, which will let you scan 2 figures, and you'll get a different minigame. Lots of potential there, very promising. Except for that little grammatical error there. Alright, compatible figures. When the software releases, only Wave 1 is compatible. Makes sense. But Update 2 added compatibility for Wave 2. Wait, Update 2? When was Update 1? Was the original release Update 1? That's not how updates work. What you should have written was that Update 1 added compatibility for Wave 2. A third update added compatibility for Wave 3, and a fourth added compatibility for the Super Mario Amiibo. Your misnumbering bothers me, sir. Then onto the characters themselves. There's a description for each character's trophy, which is literally just the character's description from the Amiibo website. And the minigame is hang on, that's literally just like an event match in Smash Bros. Literally all of these except Link's could just be done in Smash Bros. These are not minigames, these are watered down versions of Smash Bros. Well, no wonder this is a predecessor to Amiibo Tap, it's got even less content. Amiibo Tap gave you multiple scenarios for each demo. This gives you one scenario per character. Some of them don't even let you play the full match. Kirby's one is literally just use Kirby's neutral special. They couldn't even be bothered to come up with event matches, I mean mini-games, for all the characters. They stopped halfway through Wave 1, and the rest just say what trophy box they belong to. And he didn't even do that for all of them, it just stops after Wave 2, even though he said it'd be compatible with Wave 3 and the Mario characters. You fricked it up, dude. You fricked it up. What's next? Please tell me it's good. Amiibo Worlds. Yeah, one of my game ideas more recently was called Amiibo World. Maybe this will be good. Please just give me this one. Just one good one. It's a sandbox adventure game. Alright, Disney Infinity ripoff. Fine. That'll be fine. Just make sure you actually explain it right. It'll support every single Amiibo. That's exactly what I want from an Amiibo game. Characters. Alright, Super Mario. The descriptions are still just taken from the Amiibo website. Special ability. I mean, you should probably tell us about the gameplay so we know how these special abilities come into play, you know? Fireballs, high jump, float, swallow enemies, okay, but how? How does the game play? Wait, where's Rosalina's ability? Why does every character after her not have an ability? Is it only the Super Mario Amiibo that has special abilities? Why? Zelda, okay. Kid Icarus, okay. Splatoon, okay. Where's the gameplay? Worlds, oh, of course it's blank. Of course. It was too good to be true. The cage is just a list. It doesn't even include every amiibo. Stop taunting me! Stop making these games that are almost exactly what I want, but then completely skimping on the details. What's next? A Nintendo Land sequel? Nintendo Land 2 Amiibo Park. Party game, of course. Announced in a Nintendo Direct. Whatever. Scheduled for summer 2015 release. Okay, that means if it were real, it would already be out by now. That means that the page is finished, right? Right? Wrong. So far, 3 games have been revealed. 3 games. It's been about a year since the start of spring 2015 in Japan, and despite that being its imaginary release date, this dude has only completed 3 games. So these 3 had better be worth it. Fire Emblem on the front line. I actually loved Fire Emblem Awakening and Sacred Stones, and I'm super excited for Fates. So, how can you screw it up? Well, have the gamepad player control all the units, and have the Wiimote players be thrown into a minigame for the fights where they have to use the Wiimote as a sword or whatever to fight. That's not fun for the Wiimote players. The gamepad player gets to play Fire Emblem, while the Wiimote players get to play one of those terrible Wagglefest shovel games on the Wii. The Legend of Zelda Dungeons. Oh, I'm sorry, The Legend of Zelda Dungeons! So, you get to play a different dungeon depending on the amiibo you scan, and the gamepad player gets to play as the dungeon boss, while all the other players play as the 4 Links, trying to get all the items and such in the dungeon in order to defeat the gamepad player. Okay, for a second, let's ignore the fact that he said mostly King Dodongo when talking about the dungeon boss. Let's ignore the fact that, as far as I can tell, this is basically a watered-down Nintendo version of Evolve. This actually sounds fun. And not just fun for one player, fun for both teams. It's great. This is exactly what the Wii U is about, or at least what it was about early on in its life. Asymmetrical multiplayer. The gamepad player is getting a different experience from the Wiimote players, but they're still both able to have fun. Alright, you've got 1 out of 2. You can bring this back. What's the last game? Star Fox Battlefield. Are you kidding me? And all this time you've had to make this page, you only came up with 3 games, and you didn't even bother filling in the description for the last one. This page is a stub? Damn right it's a stub. It makes me feel like I stubbed my toe. It's painful! And look at these comments. Me sucks at editing. I'll be happy if someone could help me with that, like give me ideas. No! That's not how this works! Unless you were doing a collaboration with another user, you should get your own ideas. If you can't think of your own ideas, why did you make the page in the first place? Okay. Last one. The last Amiibo game I could be bothered to find. I'm not optimistic about this one. You know why? Because it's a sequel to Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Yeah, that one. It's simply called Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival 2. Made by Jake, apparently. Well, what's that icon you got there? Is that Yoda with an avatar arrow on his head? Jeebins, we're in for a wild ride, aren't we? There's the logo. Nice work on the 2, but I don't think the shadows are supposed to go on the top. The development is apparently split between 4 companies. I don't see how that could go wrong at all. Gameplay. Wow, he actually has a gameplay section. It's got multiple paragraphs in it. The first paragraph is basically explaining how the original game worked. It's the second paragraph where things start to get interesting. He's added a new mechanic to the game, the mortgage system. Now, this is a staple of the Animal Crossing series. You're always working towards paying off your home, and then when you do, you renovate your home and get in debt again. So for Amiibo Festival 2, everyone has a mortgage. You work towards paying it off, and once you've paid off your debt, you can expand your home, which increases the amount of happy points and bells you earn, probably from the spaces you land on. This is perfect. He's taken a staple of the Animal Crossing series and made it work in a board game setting. And not only that, I could see a bit of strategy coming out of this. At the end of a game of Amiibo Festival, you earn a certain amount of happy points based on how many bells you collected. So, taking into account the mortgage system, at the start of the game it'd be better to pay off your mortgage, thus increasing the amount of happy points and bells you earn. But as you start to approach the end of the game, do you try to pay off your debt, hoping you'll still have time for your house expansions to benefit you? Or do you hang on to your bells, preferring to simply cash them in for happy points at the end? This one simple addition makes Amiibo Festival that much better in my opinion. But you know what? He's not done yet. He's also added a shop. In the original Amiibo Festival, the only shop was owned by Red, who only shows up on certain days, and you could buy cards from him if you landed on one of his spaces on the board during that day. I think the reason there wasn't a dedicated shop at all times was because the shopkeepers, Tom Nook and the Nooklings, were all playable characters. However, Jake over here has gone and dug around and found someone else to run the shop, Grams and Layla, originally seen on Tortimer Island in Animal Crossing New Leaf. Grams would sell you things that you could buy with the tokens you earned on the island, and if you ran out of space in your bug box or whatever, Layla would play shop with you, buying things from you at a price much lower than what you get on the mainland. Similarly, in Amiibo Festival 2, Grams sells you various cards to use on the board, and if you have a card you don't want, you can sell it to Layla to earn some more bells. It works. It's good. And in order to facilitate the change of always having a shop available, Red's had some changes made to him as well. In the main Animal Crossing series, Red would sell you rare pieces of art that you couldn't normally get elsewhere, but they wouldn't always be authentic. Sometimes they'd be fake, and you can't donate fake art to the museum. In Amiibo Festival, with Tom Nook and the Nooklings not around, Red was the only shopkeeper left, and just sold you cards like an honest businessman. However, in Amiibo Festival 2, he's much more reminiscent of his main Animal Crossing form, having 4 different cards on offer when you visit him. 3 are rare cards that you can only buy from him, but the last one is a card that can also be bought from Graham's shop, and Red sells it for a much higher price. That's perfect for a shady dealer like him. Red is more like his usual self in this Fantendo page than he is in the actual Nintendo game that this page is based on. Now, I've talked for this long, and I've only touched on the first part of the page, which was, of course, the most important part of it. He then goes on to playable characters, which are all the same as the ones from the first Amiibo Festival. After what he did with the gameplay, I can forgive him not adding any new characters, although personally I would have added a few. For instance, Sable, Tortimer, Pelly. Oh, and maybe he could even make it compatible with the Smash Bros. Villager amiibo. But that's for another time. You can also play as one of the 6 basic villagers, which seems like a downgrade since the real Amiibo Festival had 8. However, Amiibo Festival 2 allows you to import your villager from New Leaf or Happy Home Designer and play as them. That's freaking cool. I like that. Then there's the event characters, starting with Katie. In the original game, she'd get out a card and then get you to guess whether the next card would be higher or lower. If you guess correctly, you get the card. Well, guess what? That's been improved. Katie now has multiple little challenges to choose from, all based on the challenges that campers can give you in the main Animal Crossing games. And not only that, she won't just give you a card that lets you move a certain amount, she'll give you an uncommon or rare card if you win, and if you lose, she'll take one of your cards if you have any. Higher stakes, more interesting challenges, and more ties to the main Animal Crossing series. It's freaking good! The next characters, Katrina, Red, Joan, Chip, and Nat, don't have anything written next to them. Since this is a sequel, I'm going to assume that means they'll just function like they did in the original game. And you know, I think that's fine. None of these guys really needed to change anyway, save for Red, whose changes were already described earlier. Maybe I should be getting mad at these blank spots, but trust me, this is the best Fantendo page I've seen in a while. And it's a sequel to a game that seems so bad, or at the very least, boring. He's also added one new event character of his own, Pete. Sometimes a thunderstorm will occur in town, and then Pete will show up and say that during the storm he lost all his letters. He's a postman, by the way. Players then spend the week collecting letters, and at the end they earn prizes based on how many they got during the week. I'm not really sure it needed to be an entire week, but other than that, I think it's a pretty clever way of adding a new character to the game. Then there's the Gyroids, who work the same as in Amiibo Festival. Layla and Grams, who had been explained earlier, and the hosts of the board, one for each season. There's also 2 additional boards that are apparently available as DLC. Since this game is based around Amiibo, which are basically the physical version of DLC, I'm okay with this. There's the Acorn Festival board and the Renaissance Festival board. I would have liked if he'd explained the differences about these boards, the Renaissance Festival in particular, but unfortunately... What? He has explained it? Oh, it's later in the page. Oh, okay, we'll get back to it. Then there's some information about other Amiibo. The Amiibo cards, rather than being used to play minigames, now allow you to replace the usual host of a board with the character on the card. It's simple, but effective. Then there's Villager. Oh, wait. What, Smash Bros. Villager? You can play as him? Why didn't you say so earlier? That's great. He takes the name Villager by default, and he looks like the villager on the actual Amiibo. But if you have Smash Bros. Data saved to him, he'll take on the name and appearance saved to the Amiibo. That's a pretty clever use of the Amiibo that makes him unique from the rest of the characters. And it has cross-game uses, taking data from one game and using it in another. I really wish Nintendo would do more of that. And finally, he's allowing people to unlock the DLC boards by scanning a certain Amiibo. And this is where he explains what the boards do. By scanning an Amiibo of a character from the Mario series, you unlock the Acorn Festival board. Since New Super Mario Bros. U had the Super Acorn, I guess. And by scanning an Amiibo of a character from the Zelda series, you unlock the Renaissance Festival board. Since the Zelda series is like medieval fantasy and whatnot. On the Acorn Festival board, you collect acorns instead of happy points, and on the Renaissance Festival board, you collect various kinds of fruit instead of happy points and bells. I don't really see the point of that, but it seems interesting at the very least. And hey, Mario and Zelda are 2 of Nintendo's biggest franchise, you probably won't have trouble finding their Amiibo. And so, we reach the end of our trek through Fantendo's Amiibo games. And Jake, I've got to say sorry for making fun of your icon, because you managed to make the best Amiibo game that I could find on this website. And in doing so, crafted a version of Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival that I might have been interested in buying if it were real. The changes you made really make the game better, in my opinion. And everyone else? Step up your game. Avatar Yoda's got you beat. If you got a specific topic or page you'd like me to roast, stick it in them there comments. I'm done! Thanks for watching. That was a long one. Jeebins, I actually thought those pages were going to break me. But then that last page came in and salvaged everything. I was getting legitimately mad at these things. If you want to watch the previous episode of Fantendo Roast, which was about Fire Emblem Reawakening, click that top annotation. And due to my screen recorder taking a dump, I can't make gameplay videos at the moment, so that bottom annotation is instead going to link to the Fantendo Roast playlist. You know, just in case you felt like watching the entire thing in one sitting. If you want to check out the pages I roasted in this episode, there'll be links in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Have a good life.